priority for these teams as well. So definitely worth looking at whether that gets even first picked, whether it gets taken a little bit later on in the series as well. So we'll have to wait and see what these first picks are. The Syndra, and I think that the Syndra being banned, the good thing to do in this situation is to take away just as many of those flexible picks as possible and try and reduce the variance that can come through.
Yeah, you see the Poppy that can flex into multiple roles, so can that Syndra. Top Esports opting for first pick in this draft. Going to go for a Vi for Tian.
Alrighty, and that then opens up for lockdown. To put it bluntly, the Ori's taken off the board here, but looking at those mages that can go alongside it, since that's the archetype that we've seen a lot of, is still those AP mid laners as well as bot lane, and then double AD on your jungle and top lane. But we've got things like the Orianna taken off the board, the Syndra and the Cassio taken out of contention as well. So as for decided mid lane bans, obviously the Syndra's a flex pick, but we've got 3 of them that have already been taken off the board. And what I really like here is the removal of the Rise alongside picking up the Jarvan. Whenever you see Jarvan being slammed by an enemy team, you're always looking at, well, are they going to be able to pick something that's mobile? And I think that this does open up maybe an Aurora for Creme here, because then you can get out of the Cataclysm. You can also go diving with the Vi as well. Doesn't have the worst of laning phases versus Rise either. But I think it could still be one of those picks that you take nice and early, potential flex as well if they can bully out something on the top side. And then you give yourself that maneuverability to get out of Jarvan ult.
Yeah, some of those picks that historically counter the Rise, like the Anivia, not going to be super happy stuck in a Cataclysm, so maybe a disincentive for Creme to lock that one in. Talked about mobility. Vi Ahri, one of the stronger 2v2s that we have in the meta, and both of them have a lot of that high mobility.
Yeah, so Top Esports currently looking dive-oriented. ThunderTalk playing a little bit more reserved in their stand and fight style with the Rise as a battle mage, the Jarvan being able to put the flag down, boost up an AD carry. Which is kind of what I'm looking for here. Whenever you take the Jarvan and you don't take a marksman alongside it, you are losing a little bit of that value that you get from the Demacian standard. However, obviously locking people down and then being able to land a boatload of spells on them, equally as valuable. So it's not like it's a complete removal of power if you don't go for a marksman. Down on that bot side. It's the Rumble locked in, though, for Zuian in the top lane. So again, layering this idea that we're going to find one person, we're going to charm them, we're going to Vi-ult them, and we'll take them down with hopefully an equalizer over the top as well.
Well, you said that maybe it was more reserved for ThunderTalk. Some of the hovers here might speak otherwise. The Mbessa, decent matchup into the Rumble as both sides have completed their top sides of the map. Heading into the second phase of bans, JackeyLove and On, these 2 players that we highlighted, going to be the focus here. Will we see more mage takeaways, and will they have to resort to some more traditional marksmen?
I mean, I do think that Camille here, pretty high value for both of these teams. They've both now got really solid dive. The Jarvan, obviously a really good diver now with the Mbessa alongside. You can make that combo work quite nicely also. The Ziggs being taken off the board is a really good duo ban. Is obviously when you've got the Jarvan, being able to layer those bombs on top of the Jarvan ulti, really, really high priority, really impactful as well. A lot of marksmen that we've seen sort of stay around the meta, things like the Ezreal for JackeyLove could get picked up here if they wanted to. I like the Lucian ban again as a way to offset any champions that are looking to get out of that Cataclysm.
Yeah, I mean, you just combine the Mega Inferno Bomb with a lot of the different lockdown that ThunderTalk already have, and a very easy duo for them to have some success on. Ezreal, speaking of success, was something that JackeyLove really impressed on in their opening series against WE, so ThunderTalk taking that one away. Final ban incoming for this first draft, and there's still a lot of opportunity to go for some of the more creative things. I know that already the Ziggs and the Camille being taken away, Mel still left available. That's really like the next champion in the bot lane mage tier list.
Yeah, and obviously Feather, kind of one of the players that I would associate a little bit more Pyke with, as well as that duo started to rear its head through MSI as well. Don't know that we've seen it fully indoctrinated into the LPL just yet, but it is the Nautilus, which sort of does the same thing, if not better, in terms of hooking and locking a target down. Getting that picked up, again, this is full dive from TT, and we're waiting to see what marksman pairs alongside this. Now, usually, if you wanted to go full dive, you could go for the Kai'Sa. I think that taking a Sivir here is a pick that could be a little bit risky and definitely open to being exploited by a Kai'Sa lock-in if ThunderTalk were looking aggressive that early on. Alternatively, you too could lock in the Sivir and get your forward moving pieces moving faster at the enemies. That's definitely a possibility. And for top esports here, they've got to lock in a bot lane. Kai'Sa's not bad for them either. Looking at those over-the-top marksmen, the Jhin as well feels really nice when you can support your team from afar. The Sivir fits in, plugs into this composition very nicely and enabling how fast the top esports frontline wants to move into ThunderTalk.
Gonna have those fast fingers on the spell shield for something like a public execution coming through from Keshi in this game. JackeyLove still a lot of opportunity to follow up on the damage that this top side can provide. Talked about that. Kai'Sa could be a good matchup, especially with that Nautilus here for On, and that's going to be the lock-in. So heavy aggression for TT, our underdogs here in the opening game of our series.
Yeah, and Kai'Sa not a pick that we see all that frequently here, but does have a good lane versus the Sivir. Also really good at being able to dodge away from dive as well. Having that supercharge where you can go invisible and make sure that the life of the Vi and the Ahri is a little bit more difficult. Definitely something that I think the Kai'Sa is going to benefit from. Not only that, but obviously Keshi got a lot of control in this game, where if he finds a public execution onto the backline, and I use the term backline quite liberally here because it's literally just JackeyLove. Everybody else from top esports wants to go forward, but if you land that ulti onto the Sivir, the Kai'Sa follows up and JackeyLove just dies.
A lot to look out for here if you are a backline carry like JackeyLove, but hey, he's one of the best that do it here in the LPL, so a lot of opportunities for outplays is kind of the nice way, or the twist that we can turn towards this on top esports' side. TES, of course, had a spectacular regular season, only getting outmatched by BLG in that department, and they did actually end up making it all the way to the grand finals. The question is, what can they do once they make it past that stage? I think continuing to prove themselves after a bit of a disappointment internationally, always going to be a beneficial thing as well, but for them, it's more than just this series, right? It's about how the season as a whole ends up finishing up. They think that Junhao coming in can help them out. We'll see if that ends up becoming the case.
Yeah, and I think that we have to give a little bit of time for these roster changes. I'm always quite hot on that breathing period, allowing the growth and development to happen.
ThunderTalk and Top Esports here in Shenzhen. Let's get it started in Game 1. You can obviously hear the top esports fans making their presence known, but hey, ThunderTalk's got some representation here too.
I think you're always going to get some sort of fans, whether it's from the hate watch of the team that they sent down to Nirvana, or if it's just not wanting to see top esports succeed here. So, you know, there's always the preying on the enemies and the enemy of my enemy, etc. as early hook comes in from the bot side of Feather.
And some summoner spells as well. Both bot laners have their lethal tempos proc, but shouldn't be too much other than a little bit of trading. The Nautilus Kai'Sa lane getting early push, but it should still be a battle for that level 2.
Yeah, I mean, on here, I think took the Ghost level 1, so definitely a late game oriented rune. Fighting for this level 2, not going to be easy for them. JackeyLove has that HP advantage from the summoner heal that was burned. Now Tian looking very early onto this top side up against Keshi.
Yeah, he's level 2 only, so going for an invade. I didn't actually catch how exactly he didn't get that full 3 levels off the top side. Maybe Junhao or Heru had some impact on the Raptor camp?
Yeah, looks like Junhao managed to take something.
Stole that one away, yeah. He stole
away, yeah, just a quick steal as Junhao now works his way through towards the bot side. Is sort of accepting that there might be a contest for his red buff. He doesn't have push on the bot side of the map, so expecting that maybe Tian's going to try and find a play on the other side, but what Tian actually has done is quite smart. Moves in, takes the Gromp and now the Wolves as well, so I don't think he's actually going to end up feeling too far behind and might have actually come away with a camp advantage.
Especially if he can make an impact here in the mid lane. Heru pushed very far forward, does ding level 4, but Zhuo is here as well. Lands the flash pull, headbutts him right back into the waiting arms of his jungler. Flash into the charm, it does not work, and Heru's gonna pick up first blood as Creme dies to the minions, and he's not dead just yet. Then comes Feather, lands the dredge line, and Heru is going to survive for ThunderTalk.
I mean, you wanted to know how TT made it into Group Ascenders on now on the bot side.
Oh, that plasma gonna immediately proc the barrier, flash forward. Oh, it's on! Getting the solo kill. 2-0 for TT.
I mean, I was going to say you wanted to know how they made it out of that group Nirvana, and honestly, my answer wasn't individual outplays. Now Junhao's finding stuff on the top lane.
Oh, the action does not stop. E, Q, flash onto Zuian. They make impact in all 3 lanes. ThunderTalk popping off in the first 3 minutes.
That is the best start to a game you can hope for. All 3 lanes winning, and off their own backs as well. Junhao only having impact in the top lane. He's loving life as he looks around the map. His bot lane's finding solo kills. His mid lane got a kill in a 1v3 and didn't die. And then he's able to find a gank on the top side. Perfectly matches the flash. And this should be great for top esports. It's a 3v1 in the mid lane, but Creme has taken so many bad trades early on, and he's just taking so much harass. E procs the Scorch, and then some auto attacks coming through from the minions do take Creme down. The Ghost cooldown gets that little bit of an extension off of the takedown, and then Heru is able to walk away. And On here finds the early W as JackeyLove wasn't level 3, so doesn't have a good opportunity to use a spell shield. And even through this, On ticks over to the level 3 as well. And the Q here, only one is procced by the spell shield, and now Zhuo's dead.
Oh, and we're fighting again. Down in the bottom lane, Zhuo has no summoner spells, but will be able to get away into that big minion wave. ThunderTalk don't want to fight, so Junhao's going to back out.
Alrighty, and I think that obviously for ThunderTalk, this is an incredible early start, but they're not necessarily pressured by time. I look at their scaling and I'm very happy with how this game looks for them as they move later on. Obviously their job throughout the late game is to kill JackeyLove. If they can do that, which with the tools they have, should be very replicatable. So if they can get on top of the Sivir, be it through Nautilus ult, Ambessa ulti, and then whoever it is, Kai'Sa ulting into the backline, that setup is there for Arn, and I think that's incredibly important as a tool to see them through to a victory in the later stages of this one.
Yeah, the snowball potential for both of these teams really is big, right? You had the mid jungle by Ahri, loves to be ahead here for TES, and then getting this Kai'Sa, a couple of items in the early stages, going to be massive here for On, the new addition to this ThunderTalk roster. Of course, had a big rookie, experiment for TT at the start of the year with Ryan 3 alongside Keshi and Heru. They end up making this one change, bringing it On with a little bit of experience, has had time playing in these Group Ascend matchups, and he has been an absolute difference maker for this roster so far.
Yeah, Arn has sort of filled that role for a lot of these teams where he's coming in as just a stable piece down on the bot side. We know he's not the cream of the crop of the bot lane, but he's definitely better than a lot of the rest, and feels like his spot in Ascend has been, probably earned, if not sort of slightly questioned, but I think that finding a 1v1 versus JackeyLove, knowing exactly the matchup, sort of brings you back to that draft and why this Kai'Sa was such a good pickup here. These are the types of things that you can do versus a Sivir, and if you want a taste for what's going to happen in the late game, just look back to that level 3 where unable to get on top of the Sivir, the spell shield is of very little value, and actually Jackie does end up falling.
And so what can TT do with this lead? We saw them snowball very nicely in their lone win against Billy. And again, talking about the schedule here for TT, if you can pull off back-to-back games, at the very least against these MSI representatives, it's a great way to kick off your Group Ascend week. Junhao going for an invade on the Raptors. Tian actually has farmed up very nicely after the initial invade and has that level 6 advantage right now. Yeah,
really punished Junhao for sort of looking for some tricksy invades, and on our bot side of the hook goes forward. Nothing really to speak of as far as those long haul trades do look. Do want to quickly call people's attention to the items. I don't think we're going to have time here as Junhao going to probably ding 6 off of these creeps and then look to pen in this bot lane.
Ooh, there goes the flash forward. They land the auto attack onto JackeyLove. Flag and drag can't be spell shielded, and that means that this Sivir is in a whole lot of danger. Going to be able to escape with the help of Zhuo, who will be the sacrifice in the end. Junhao end up making it 4-0 for ThunderTalk.
Another just really nice play out of TT here, and Junhao might be down in experience. Tian a full level up over the Jarvan at this stage, but it's all about how easily this Jarvan is able to make impact on the map. And so far, he's found a gank top, a gank bot lane, and that's a really good look for Junhao. One of the players that we highlighted needed to be a focal point for this TC roster, was the reason they found a win versus BLG earlier this week, and now in game number 1 up against Top Esports, already looking to have started out strong.
We hit the 8-minute mark, still a 1.4 thousand gold lead for ThunderTalk. Top Esports rotating towards the top side of the map, gets the first proc of the grubs. Should be Tian taking all 3 of those, and so the power farming Vi strategy, not necessarily one that you always see, but one that is being effective, at least so far.
Has secured the first dragon and is going to pick up all 3 grubs as well, so the farming doesn't limit himself to just his own camps. Have we seen a good counter invade? We've now seen a couple of neutral objectives taken as well. Probably going to be able to farm his way up towards that first item nice and quickly also.
Now we see Heru making his way towards the bottom side of the map as he's getting chased out by Creme and Junhao. Junhao's doing the long route here. Don't think he actually was going to get spotted here in that bush, but getting some bot side vision as well for TES. You can see even though they are down in gold, down in kills, still playing aggressive and knowing where they have their value in terms of numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to try to highlight as well, is that they recognize what their goals for the game should be, and make sure how they're going about this game is in line with their composition as well. So often you can see teams sort of go into Ascend and then get a little bit lost in the source. TT thus far not making that mistake.
We wait for this next dragon to spawn in about 1 minute and 15 seconds. We teleport up into the top lane for Keshi, so he will not be available for a potential 5v5 around that one. Zuian could be, as he has his TP up and running, as looks like right now it's Tian on the bot side, clearing towards top, at least temporarily. Keshi's gotten a good opportunity here against a fellow rookie in Zuian. Has that early kill based off the gank from his jungler, and also had a really good series up against Wenbo here for VLG just a couple days ago.
I think that's important, like you're saying, that they're able to get a little bit of a lead, or maybe just show face versus some of these top teams, even with them being top laners. But I want to, again, we'll go back to my point. Being a marksman, Grapes, the power is that I get to educate the people at home about the bot lane state, and whilst people aren't playing Kai'Sa all that often, you'll notice Arn has got a Cull. I think that Cull, very sought after on most marksmen just because of our greedy playstyle, but also really good for Kai'Sa in terms of getting that evolution early. If you don't go for a Cull, it means that you're very frequently low on AD as you reach that sort of level 9 first item breakpoint, where you need an extra couple of levels before you get the Q evolve. Getting that Cull just gives you the AD to get a nice Q evolve, usually around a third dragon fight, which can be very important for you. So on here, nice itemization. Just wanted to call it out and make sure we're giving flowers where they're due for a good set of items that I think on every game you're playing Kai'Sa, for better or for worse, you want to pick up a Cull.
I haven't played Kai'Sa a ton, but I feel like a lot of the time when I do play her, I'm just like 1 AD away from like getting my evolve on the Q. So hey, all the difference here for this Kai'Sa. Not there just yet, but still going to provide an impact here in this team fight. It's Tian lands a cease and desist immediately onto Junhao and takes the enemy jungler down. Now it's a 4v3 in favor of Top Esports as Creme has entered the fight as well. Heru still on the run, looking to escape with the help of his ghost, but there's no jungler available now for ThunderTalk as Top Esports control the Dragon Pit.
Really high value headbutt from Zhuo there, completely removed on from the fight, and just meant that for a small portion of time, Junhao was isolated, and that was all that Top Esports needed. They put all of their damage into the Jarvan and then couldn't find a way out. Looking to fight afterwards, though.
Yeah, hook lands over, but nice buffer from Zhuo, able to get the knockup on a feather. Still in a bit of danger as the dragon is secured by TES. Flash away here from a couple of Top Esports members, but ThunderTalk looking to continue the fight on, goes forward with the killer instinct, but no kills going their side.
Hey, that was never going to be easy for Arn looking forward with the killer instinct there. I think if he'd have gone too far into the backlines, might have ended up falling himself, as up on that top side, Keshi did call for a public execution. Zuian will lose out on another plate, has lost out on the equalizer and the flash as well, you'll note. So looks like Keshi in this 1 versus 1 getting the better of Zuian. Obviously, this is after a good gank from Junhao at the very early stages of the game.
So, despite being down in gold, Top Esports able to win out on that skirmish. We get a little look in the picture for Keshi, who is continuing to have a very good time up in the top lane.
Yeah, dodges out on the Electro Harpoon there, forces the flash from Zuian, trying to get on top of the equalizer to make the fight unfavourable for Keshi, but just decides, you know what, I'll happily take that win. I've got the Rumble Flash, and again, whenever we're looking at flashes versus Jarvan, we're looking at those immobile targets. Importantly now, a Rumble with no flash is going to be quite easy to pick off. But take a look at this another fight. Junhao 2 levels down, importantly, onto Tian. And then Zhuo knocks on away, and before the Ryze can truly pump out the damage, the Jarvan's already dead. And that's call for TT to just get out of dodge to decide, actually, this fight's already over. And the power that Tian had from that power farming finally comes home to roost. They find the first kill of their game and actually get Tian on the board now.
Yeah, one big advantage here for top esports. Can't really find him in other areas of the map right now, but it is a 25 CS lead for Tian. He has that Thunder Sky and the Phage, so that currently is the advantage that he possesses over Junhao. Vi, pretty solid, especially when you compare alongside some of the laners that he can join and try to collaborate with on a gank like the Ahri down here in the bottom side for Creme.
Has gone for the Malignant early as well, so Creme here going to have a lot of those Spirit Rush charges, really going to be looking to get in the mixer when these scraps do unfold. Got a Herald spawning in about a minute's time up in that top lane. Important to note that Heru obviously went for that Ghost, found himself a nice outplay early on, but does mean that he's not going to be able to get up to this top side, and I think that's kind of why we see Keshi looking for a recall, is unfortunately on a ward. It looks like Keshi would look to recall, go farm up on that bot side, then can TP up to the top lane for any potential fight around this Herald that may come through. Obviously getting interrupted now means Heru has to stay another wave and kind of throws the whole of TT out of sync here. Means that if a fight does happen, it's very likely to be at a mismatched numbers.
Yeah, I think both sides having their resets cancelled going to be pretty big. I mean, Keshi already has his Eclipse completed. But Zuian likely would have been able to finish off the Liandry's if he did channel that reset. Instead, it's going to be just a itemless rumble around this Rift Herald pit, and Zhuo is already starting to engage with a double pulverized combo. Into the back line goes Heru looking for JackeyLove, but JackeyLove still able to stand strong. In goes Keshi looking for the flash follow-up and will assassinate the Sivir into the back line. But 80 carries will be traded as On goes down. It's a 4v4 so far. Zhuo getting flashed upon by Junhao going down as well. Keshi in the middle of the entirety of top esports. Still indomitable. Will not fall. Heru finishing off Zuian. A double kill for the Ambessa, and Creme is the last remaining survivor. An ace for ThunderTalk as they pick up a massive win around the Rift Herald pit.
All they lose is their bot lane, and ThunderTalk explode that gold lead. Their fight for the Herald is theirs. And now Junhao will be able to start that one up, pick that objective for themselves, stop the tirade of top esports objectives. It starts with what is an attempted pick onto Zhuo, who immediately tries to turn it around. But fortunately, Heru gets there and buys the space. And it is all really just Keshi here. Gets into the backline on top of JackeyLove, who's taken some good chip damage from the Ryze. I think On here actually goes a little bit too quickly, sort of catalyzes this fight, and does overall make it a 1-1 for ThunderTalk. I think if they'd have played it a little bit slower, maybe an opportunity there for the Kaiser to pick up a few kills. Whether, of course, that just means that top esports back away and don't look to lose this heavily, of course, we may never know. But ThunderTalk very happy with this. Junhao excellently healthy, very good fight throughout alongside Heru, and really the top side here of ThunderTalk absolutely coming alive.
What an opening week in Shenzhen it has been for Keshi. Of course, do have to come with the caveat, it was against Wembo last week, but Zuian was a player that really impressed us in certain moments back in his debut, split number 2. And so the fact that Keshi has once again been able to pick up pretty sizable leads in both of these matchups against our back-to-back LPL MSI representatives, right? Number 1 seed a couple of days ago, number 2 seed here in TES today. Very impressive here for a player who we did not see any of on the Tier 1 stage until this year.
I think it's important to remember as well that if we're looking at these top laners in Tier 1 and these people who are just coming into Ascend, they sort of have to go through this proving themselves arc. We saw it from Zuian just last split, where the whole story was, well, actually, Zuian was a tank player coming into this team and we weren't expecting too much from them outside of maybe a Sion game here and there. But then, game after game, carry after carry, Zuian proved themselves, and now it's actually Keshi looking to do the same thing. Don't know they have the same reputation for being a tank player, but on this Tier 1 stage is looking incredible on the Ambessa this time.
So it will be a Dragon secured by ThunderTalk. JackeyLove had his spell shield, immediately popping the dredge line, and the depth charge will follow up from Feather. In goes the Realm Warp, the Killer Instinct. They're sending the kitchen sink at JackeyLove, but he's still able to live, and now it will be on to be punished for his sins. Creme picks up the kill, and TES now have that numbers advantage. Zuian nearing an overheat status, but still will be able to dish out that equalizer if necessary. Top Esports able to punish an over-aggressive play from ThunderTalk.
Yeah, these Kai'Sa ults from Arn aren't hitting how they need to, and now Junhao may feel that as the blue buff is going to be stolen away. But for Arn here, he's not going on the right timers. Earlier in the last fight went way too early, and I think in this fight actually went a little bit too late. By the time he actually gets in there, it's when JackeyLove is broken free of the CC, when Joe is actually able to give a little bit of help and make sure that that fight isn't too tricky. You can see here, this is when Feather's on top of him flashing. That's when we need to go in. On waiting, and finally does get in there. But for me, you know, much too late. Really doesn't quite find the time, and you can see here that JackeyLove able to get away. There's Peel coming back from Creme, from Tian. I think if that had been a snappier fight, the Sivir should have never made it back to their turret.
And that's a bit of a problem with the ThunderTalk composition, right? They are heavy engaged, but for somebody like On, not really an ability to kind of escape after he's pressed that R button. We've seen that in both of the deaths that he has suffered from so far. Meanwhile, somebody like JackeyLove, a lot of tools to be able to escape. Things like the On the Hunt and the Spell Shield. We've seen him be able to still put out some decent damage in the team fights, although they have not resulted in wins for his team. It's a bit of a reset at this stage in the game. TT still up 4K, but the scaling for Top Esports is still a possibility here as we continue to progress in this game one.
Yeah, importantly as well, third dragon of the game went over to ThunderTalk, so they were able to sort of stop that stacking and make sure that Top Esports weren't completely running away with things. But I think it's these fights around the objectives that are going to get ThunderTalk to push the envelope that little bit faster. This 4K gold lead has persisted for a few minutes now, and with the way that the game has gone in those past few minutes, get the sense that there's a slight shift in momentum. If we take a look at the actual gold disparities individually, we only really look at the top lane as where there is a true advantage. The advantages in the jungle, mid and bot lane, they're split between Top Esports and ThunderTalk, and they're only 500 gold at a maximum, which at this stage in the game doesn't really feel all that impactful. Obviously, you look at the top lane, Keshi's got a full item up over Zuian, and that's the only real important thing that we need to look at. A 4v4 without top laners is going to be fought on even footing, and actually at this stage in the game, Sivir's hit, Infinity Edge, and that Yuntal is pumping out some really good damage, where On, with the Ginsus, yes, gets some good plasma stacks, but doesn't have the third item for the W Evolve.
So Top Esports, they saw Keshi 1v9 that team fight, so they're going to say, hey, how about a 1v4? Can you get out of this one? Flashes away here from the headbutt pull, and so it will be the Ambessa surviving for now. The re-engage from ThunderTalk
Big scrap
can provide some value. Two-man knockup with that depth charge, and Heru has popped the ghost. Zuian and the rest of TES do not have a tower to defend themselves, and that means that they could be in a little bit of danger. Joe has already popped the Unbreakable Will. Tian goes forward, lands that cease and desist, and will be able to take the shutdown onto Keshi. And there goes On into the back line, though. He flashed away from the Tian. He'll be able to get himself a huge team fight. It's a triple kill in for Heru, and another full ace for ThunderTalk.
I mean,
they took
Baron's
down the main
on the board.
carry.
They've got a Kai'Sa with Ginsus here. Junhao puts the flag down. The attack speed for On is going to come through, and that's going to be the prize for ThunderTalk. A much better fight. On finally able to find the purchase that Kai'Sa is looking for. And we'll see if they can actually take this down. It's very early, and you can see they're going to have to split the aggro. But that's going to be the goal for ThunderTalk. A replay, very slowly done by TT here, and it actually costs them a little bit off the start. Top Esports recognize that the threat is Keshi, and they do a great job at taking that down. The layering of the CC onto this Ambessa is perfect. Tian goes in, cease and desist, charm comes through, and the Ambessa is one shot. But a 4-man return Cataclysm off the back of a triple knockup. It's Junhao who turns this fight in favour of ThunderTalk. Arn's able to get in, able to do damage to the backline, and Creme sort of scattered to the wind, tries to get some damage down and tries to survive, but there isn't enough left in the tank. The Baron did fall, ThunderTalk were able to pick that one up, and now they've got 2.5 minutes to make good on it.
Top Esports, they could disengage once from Keshi, but could they disengage twice, or better yet, could they disengage thrice? It was a 4-man Cataclysm that the backline had to flash away from, and then On presses that Killer Instinct, and finally comes online in this game. We see the solo laners for TES pushing on the top side of the map, just trying to get a little bit back, while the other two lanes are currently being decimated by the Baron buff of TT.
Sivers wave clear can only do so much versus Baron. It's like TP used by Creme to get down to the bot side as ThunderTalk now looking mid.
Yeah, already double knockup once again. On follows up with the Killer Instinct, and back to live we go. It's 2 kills immediately underneath the tier 2 tower for TT, but it will be Tian able to get a little bit back, and Creme now on the back line able to pump out a little bit more damage. Junhao lands the flag and drag, but he'll get shut down by the Ahri. Zuian still burning down a couple of members. Takes Keshi down with the Electro Harpoon and makes it a 3 for 3. Tier 2 tower goes down. Heru still dishing out some deeps, so it won't be a continuation of the play for TES, but they do get a couple of kills to deny the push for now.
It's not clean by ThunderTalk here by any means. It's a 3 for 3 and a secure of the tier 2 turret, but Top Esports will more than happily take that. It stops the assault. Any Baron where you don't lose anything inside your base is a win for the defending side. But it's a clean dive onto the backline. Unfortunately, Arn just gets caught inside the Cataclysm, and then he's lined up by Creme, by Tian, who do put way too much damage down onto the Kai'Sa for her to be able to survive. And then on the back here, Heru tanking up this turret. I think that Zuian gets away with absolute murder. Keshi, miss input, walks back to hit the turret instead of walking up to hit the rumble. Should have been able to take Zuian down, and then the fight obviously looks completely different off the backside of this. However, we have come out of that play. We have come out of that Baron sequence with, instead of it being just top lane that we need to look at, On now has that Nash's Tooth. That 3-item Kai'Sa spike that we were talking about has been achieved, and in that duration, JackeyLove has picked up a crit cloak.
And I believe, rude bot lane player, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, with that Nash's Tooth completed, all 3 of those spells should now be fully evolved here for the Kai'Sa, so that's another big power spike.
Exactly, and the E-evolve is the one that feels really good in these scrappy fights. The W-evolve is the poke power that Top Esports, oh, not Top Esports, but that ThunderTalk are kind of missing with their composition. Kai'Sa can now sort of flex into this hybrid style where just one W really starts to hurt. And at this 3-item point, it's not that case. If you go full AP from here, that 4th and 5th item can start to truly hurt. But I think the power of Kai'Sa, in specifically against Top Esports this game, is your ability to build Zhonyas. The only thing that a marksman can do to counter Vi is either be Xayah or get a Zhonyas. Kai'Sa has the option of getting a Zhonyas and having it fit perfectly into their build path. So Arn about 1200 gold away from being able to go absolutely nuclear in these team fights.
Yeah, and it just, honestly, the funny thing is you consider Zhonyas to be more of a defensive item, right? But for On, will allow him to play more offensive, be able to be more aggressive in his dives, knowing that he can press that stasis and allow for the rest of his team to follow up. So another big tool on this full-on dive composition for TT soon to be available. Not just yet, though, but there's really nothing to fight for. So if I'm ThunderTalk, I'm waiting until you get a couple of those spikes before starting another skirmish.
You can see Junhao, I like the fact that they held the ulti there, just sort of recognizing the power that is in that spell, and with the Baron spawning in about 1 minute 40, control over said pit is going to be vitally important. If you lose your Alistar, that means that at this stage, no, you don't lose the Baron, but you lose all control of it, and then trying to regain it later on becomes much more difficult. And it's about trying to get JackeyLove to those Flicker Blades, trying to get to that 3rd item. If Creme can pick up a Shadow Flame as well, that'll be really solid, and then you're pretty much at item parity across the board. Doesn't really matter that you find yourself a little bit behind on the top side. Creme has been really good at getting access to On and using Tian as well as a proxy for that. You know, this next minute of securing vision on that top side and making the life of Top Esports miserable for TT here is their name of the game.
So despite that big ace that got TT the Baron, they haven't really moved the gold needle since then. You might remember that Baron power play basically net neutral because of the kills that Top Esports were able to get off of the ensuing fight. Some big shutdowns went into their hands, and now we do start to see some of those item breakpoints come in for TES. Creme has the Shadow Flame, going to continue to dish out more and more damage. He's been one of the most consistent players for Top Esports all year long, and he's going to have to put the team on his back a little bit if he wants to try to spark a comeback.
Yeah, 5 stacks on a Dark Seal, has tier 3 Sork Shoes as well, which feels like a bit of a rarity in the current mid lane stage, as Feather does get a little bit whittled down here by Zuian, and Esports looking a little bit aggressively without getting immediately responded to.
Zuian at half HP, and that means the ThunderTalk can go forward, but Junhao went too far, too quick, has to flash away from the Cataclysm, but into the back line, it's Keshi with the public execution. He gets followed up by the cease and desist, in goes on with that killer instinct, flashes away from Zuian, who has gone golden, and then we'll have the Seekers at his disposal. Back onto the Kaisa, do go TES, they're only able to get one so far. A big charm will cancel the Realm Warp. Both Heru and TES have found their moment. They get the big 3-for-0 fight that'll secure themselves a Baron.
And down 5k, they just play it better. ThunderTalk walk too close to the sun, and it's Top Esports who are going to prosper from it. Burn them to cinders and to kill the Baron buff as well. A tier 1 turret taken by Creme. Clean 3-for-0. Nobody falls from Top Esports. They didn't even get the Guardian Angel from Tian. Looks like a good little start here as Zuian loses about a third, down to about a third of his HP. But unfortunately, Junhao goes way too far forward. Creme's Proto Belt is the perfect bait. And by the time actually Arn goes in, recognizes that my team haven't fully been able to follow up with me here. And not able to get the finishing touch, cancels an auto onto Zuian, which does mean that he's able to go into stasis and actually keep himself alive. A good supercharge, but unfortunately the rest of the team just weren't able to get in there.
Seemed like ThunderTalk kind of went in one by one there instead of utilizing all of their spells simultaneously like we had seen from them in some of the successful fights that they had.
Yeah.
And that's going to make things very difficult now for them to hold the line and to hold on to their lead a bit. 3 items now also completed for JackeyLove and for Zuian. So for the 2 lanes that were previously pretty far behind, Top Esports now getting their carries into significantly more powerful position.
Yeah, I see the Sapphire Crystal in Heru's inventory. Do wonder if that's going to be working towards a Frozen Heart to try and stop the power that JackeyLove will have to maybe limit Tian's capabilities as well in the coming fights. Obviously a good metric amount of gold away from being able to get there, but would be a good item to pick up if the game goes long enough. Obviously with this Baron, feels like Top Esports are leveling the playing field instead of trying to put it into their favor. Obviously clawing back what was a 5k deficit, now looking to try and work their way through some tier 2 turrets. It's going to be a pretty good way to set the record straight and make sure that we're going into this mid to late game rather, on even footing. Already highlighted through the early stages of this game that I think if ThunderTalk can execute properly, they've got a slightly better composition. Their goal should be just kill JackeyLove. But obviously we've seen the execution fumble a little bit. It's been one of the pressure points for ThunderTalk in that they actually can't all execute and get onto JackeyLove together.
Well, looks like they're going to fight here underneath the top lane tier 2. JackeyLove currently just hitting the tower as his top laner is taking a boatload of damage. Double flag and drag will knock up 2 as Junhao goes for the escape, and Keshi immediately looking for the public execution. Does not connect on anything though, but he's still face tanking a 1v4. On has already taken down 1. Gets a double kill and is now still continuing his course in the back of the line. He will go down to Creme, but Keshi looking to continue to chase him down. The final Spirit Rush will get him away as Tian will once again shut down Heru. Despite the good engage from ThunderTalk, Top Esports still able to at least make it an even trade and could even be more. The Guardian Angel has been procced by Tian, and Keshi now has to go to his base, as it will be TES still pushing after the end of the day.
Yeah, they do find a win here in this team fight. I think getting Tian's Guardian Angel is a massive cooldown for them, especially ahead of defending their inhibitors as well. But Top Esports do what ThunderTalk couldn't. They get the Baron and they're able to break open the base. They don't get an inhibitor, but they do break open that base. Zuian, a little bit too eager to get the Crystalline Overgrowth, means that he loses out quite considerably on obviously all of his health, and yes, the turret falls, but gives Heru a good amount of time to pump some damage in on the backside. I do like Arn here going in for that execute with 4 stacks of plasma. It's a really quick fire thing, but JackeyLove is unfortunately too far forward. He doesn't recognize that the rest of his team have backed off, have tried to defend or collapse rather onto the Ambessa. Does get caught by a double flash from Junhao and the engage coming through there. Somehow Tian able to win out on the 1v1, 1v2, whatever it was on the backside on this Vi. Really having a good game on this pick. And you get to sort of see why this was the first pick that Top Esports opted for.
pretty similar situations on both sides in terms of their compositions, right? They got 4 players who really want to dive, and then JackeyLove on one side, Heru on the other, have each been the target for their respective dive opponents. Tian able to get Heru that time. JackeyLove, as we said, picked off before he really was able to do a ton of damage in that fight. So honestly, a pretty similar situation to what happened when ThunderTalk took the Baron. Top Esports were able to get the Baron, get a couple of turrets, but not win a decisive fight. So the gold lead still even at this point, marginally in favor of your red side. But take a look at where that gold is allocated. A lot of that lead is on to Creme. He's 4,000 gold up onto the rise and has a death cap to go with a 10-stack Dark Seal.
Yeah, I just looked at the inventory for Creme there. He looked like he was trying to sell 10-stack Dark Seal to buy a Blighting Jewel. And I thought that tells you a lot about how he feels this game's going, and not in the good sense for Top Esports. I just walked back to the base as well, so
give him the book.
Keep your eyes down there and see what it is that actually ends up happening. I think that he's in 2 minds as Zhuo is actually getting picked off on the map. Knows that...
You gotta buy something quick, man. Your team's
Creme
dying.
can get there. There it is. Decides, you know what, I'll do it. We'll go for it. And I think that's the way that you need to go when you are so far ahead. When you're trying to prove yourself as one of the cream of the crop for the LPL in the mid lane. You've got stiff competition. Going for the Medjais here is how you start to try and build that name for yourself.
It's hilarious. You see the thought process in his head as he's selling and then rebuying the items. He's like, I'm going to play safe. Actually, no. I'm going to be aggressive. And then finally deciding on the Medjai Soul Stealer. You get really good value just with that 10 stacks alone. And so Creme going to have a lot of movement speed. Not as defensive as a Zhonya's, but still allows him to be a little bit more slippery in these team fights. Speaking of team fight, we're going to get one soon, as it's going to be a Soul Dragon available for top. They can secure it, spawning in 20 seconds.
ThunderTalk's job is to try to prevent that from happening. Eyes on Keshi, eyes on as the 2 carries for ThunderTalk to prevent that Soul. Top Esports posturing for the Dragon. ThunderTalk posturing for the Baron here. They might just be happy to trade this one out. Always a big proponent of you kind of don't want to give over a soul, and I think that I'm in the same boat this time as well. I think trying to lock down Creme, trying to lock down JackeyLove becomes infinitely harder when they've got this Cloud Soul in their back pocket, but it's Baron for ThunderTalk, it's Cloud Soul for Top Esports, and we'll see who this favours as we move into a dead even gold game 35 minutes in.
I don't know how much I love that for TT, but kind of just goes to show how they feel the state of the game is going. Did not want to walk into Top Esports to contest the Dragon, instead opting for what could be a slightly net negative trade in the Soul for the Baron. ThunderTalk going to need to get something massive off of this power play in the next 150 seconds. But on the other side here, Rude, it's a Cloud Soul for Top Esports. Look at the champions that can benefit from that on their side.
Yeah, obviously, I think that pretty much everybody gets really good value out of the Cloud Soul this game. It's not like there's somebody who doesn't get insane movement speed bonuses from when they cast their ulti, and I think that just Sivir compounding that as well feels really dangerous for TT to try to play against. But now it's about what can they do with this Baron. I think if they do structural damage to the base of TES, that's then when this Baron becomes worth it. If they can create an advantage that doesn't revolve around fighting, that gives them an avenue on the map to try to come out and play, that's the way that they can make this worthwhile. For the time being, though, it's about securing these waves and pushing on all the sides that they want to. I think top wave is pushing away from ThunderTalk here, which is a little bit of a problem if they wanted to go for a full court press, but instead they've got mid push, they've got bot pushed. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get too far through the turret, though.
One thing that ThunderTalk's competition has that Top Esports doesn't is a bit of a split-pushing presence. You see Keshi in the mid lane while the rest of his team is currently bottom. Zuian able to defend rather nicely, and Top Esports going to try their hand at a 4v4, and they will be successful. A proc of the Guardian Angel already onto Junhao, and a third straight Realm Warp cancelled by the TES side. In goes Tian, the equalizer over the top, and now Keshi is joining the fight, but all too late. Uses the blast gun to escape, but Tian will have none of it. Flash Vault Breakers onto him, and Keshi is forced to go forward. Has his GA proc, but it will only delay the inevitable. A clean fight picked up for top. They go 5 for nothing and have death timers for the next 40 seconds.
And if you're not going to engage here, ThunderTalk, you're just not going to win the fight. Cloud Soul is just too good at running you down. Top Esports defend their tier 2 in the bot side, and look at Tian here, proxying his way through to secure Top Esports a good shot at ending game number 1.
Still going to be 15 seconds on Feather, 20 on, and the siege from Top Esports will commence. The inhibitor going to go down in the bottom lane, and another wave crashing momentarily. Still 5 seconds on the Nautilus, onto the Nexus Tower as they go. Should just be a Game 1 win for Top Esports. They come back from 5k down to open our best of 3 series with a win.
And it was a difficult early game for Top Esports. Let's be honest, they struggled their way through this one. ThunderTalk had a really solid start. Heru finding a 1v3 play in the mid lane. On 1v1 versus JackeyLove down in the bot side, and Junhao with a great gank on the top lane. But when it got to the later stages of this one, it was Top Esports showing their mastery, showing their class, and showing that their domestic prowess still exists.
Able to come back kind of similarly to how BLG did in Game 3 against ThunderTalk a couple of days ago. The early game from this team, certainly an early strength as we continue to watch their development here in Group Ascend. ThunderTalk not able to capitalize on the lead that they had. The skirmishing power not working out when it came down to the 5v5s. Just looked a little bit desynced compared to TES, and that shows why this team has been able to succeed, at least on the domestic level.
Yeah, I mean, they were really easily able to sort of offset anything that ThunderTalk put at them as the game got later. Their decision-making, their team fighting was just a cut above what TT were able to offer. There was a really important fight around the mid lane which sort of swung it back to neutrality, and then obviously pretty much every fight after that seemed to go their way, where they were able to secure a Baron, then end the game securing a bot lane fight as well. And I think that those big 5v5s really do show why you have to put so much emphasis on a Soul versus putting it on a Baron. Obviously, you just got to see that the Cloud Soul made it near impossible for ThunderTalk to disengage, to take a fight, to really do anything.
I mean, Cloud Soul is strong on its own, but you combine that with the Sivir having the movement speed, and then even the rest of the champions that want to dive into the backline, right? Creme procs his R. Not only does he get that mobility, but a little bit of extra move speed on top of it. Same with Tian and Joel. Made the fight all too easy for ThunderTalk. 10-3-11 for Creme on the Ahri. In my opinion, a pretty runaway player of the game.
Yeah, I think he had a really stellar performance. Was constantly looking. I think that Tian set him up really nicely as well for the most part of this game. So the problem that you'd have giving Tian player of the game is that he kind of got walked on through the early stages, and Junhao was very present. But Creme was the one consistently looking into the backline, into how am I going to turn this fight in my team's favour. And when that happened, you know, that's the way that Creme was playing, and that's how he was able to keep his team in it and then also take them over the line.
Take a look at some of these highlights here. Just talking about ThunderTalk once more. Don't want to be too discouraged by losses like this, at least early on in the season. There have been teams that have come up into Group Ascend and immediately not looked up to par. ThunderTalk, at the very least, are showing that they can compete against these top-tier opponents, even if they don't always result in wins, at least yet, right? There's still going to be lots of opportunities for them to grow, and at least seeing some high-value moments from players like Junhao, like Keshi, certainly a promising outlook.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the vision, right, with Junhao and how many good engages he was looking for on this job. And I think that TT suffering a little bit from, honestly, and this might sound a little bit brutal, but just a hands check where on the dive there from On, he cancels on auto, which allows Zuian to live. Similarly, we saw Keshi lose out on an auto attack, walks back to the turret on the mid lane dive instead of walking forward to take out Zuian. I think that if those couple of fights go slightly differently, the whole game has a completely different trajectory. And we criticised On for the first two Kai'Sa ults. Yes, they got dialed in as we got later on, but if those first two Kai'Sa ults were on point, maybe the entire fight, the entire game rather, just looks completely different, and you just can't know until that very end.
Yeah, I think not something that comes down to draft here for ThunderTalk. I think they played their cards pretty well, all things considered. If they want to have better outlooks in the future, probably just goes down to late game teamfight execution, like we saw here, performed very well by TES. Creme diving onto the backline. Again, just separation for ThunderTalk, and TS knowing that and being able to capitalize on the numbers advantage that they had with Keshi pushing mid.
Yeah, really solid. Yeah, again, just that ability to pull the trigger, right? It's that decision making that we see so often be the actual X factor, and that, you know, the intangible that we can't really quantify, but that we can see in front of us.
So Top Esports open up yet another series with a win, 3 consecutive victories in terms of maps to start off their split 3 journey. Waiting on that player of the game vote. Again, we're thinking about Creme specifically, but yeah, I think everyone really pulled their weight in their own right. There it is, Creme 10-3-11 on the Ahri.
Yeah, no surprises. 95% kill participation, I think, tells you more than everything that you need to know. Being able to do 28% damage with having a pretty crazy damage per gold given, so the percentage on that pretty darn high as well. Anything over 150 is a number that you should really be striving for, and Creme, a deserved player of game number 1.
So that's all we got for game number 1 of this series. It was hard fought by ThunderTalk, but Top Esports end up taking an early 1-0 lead. We'll see if ThunderTalk can come back, force their second straight game 3, or if it'll be a sweep once we come back from this short break on LPL English.